The Seattle Seahawks had their first padded practice of 2024's training camp. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. And we've got some stuff to talk about today because yesterday was a very interesting day for the Seattle Seahawks. Specifically, it was interesting because they had their first padded practice of the 2024 offseason. So things are going to look a little bit different. Things are going to feel a little bit different. Things mean a little bit more now. So when we're taking a look at the stuff that we see during the padded practices, you know that you're still going to learn more from the preseason games. You're going to learn more from what you hear from practice during the week. And of course, you're going to learn a lot more from what you see in the actual games when September gets here. But you're ramping up. You're starting to get a feel for what might be when the 2024 season starts. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we heard coming from the VMAC yesterday. Mostly good, mostly encouraging, I would say. I think that most teams' training camps are going to be like that, though. I will say that there was a little bit of a role reversal at training camp yesterday compared to the previous 4 days, but not in a way that I would consider to be bad or discouraging, just the natural ebbs and flows of a team trying to get ready for the season. So we're going to run through some of the main highlights from the training camp session yesterday. Before we get into that, though, thank you for watching the video. I hope you like it. Please like this video down below if you haven't already. It takes less than a second. Helps the channel out. Sub to the channel if you're new and you want daily Seahawks content. Click the bell for notifications. Consider becoming a channel member. It costs $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. All right, so the main thing about yesterday's training camp session is that it was wet. It was rainy, which hasn't really been the case in the previous training camp sessions. So the weather definitely changed the dynamics of what we saw out there. And I think that when you look at the overall big picture of yesterday's training camp session, it makes a lot of sense that the rain was affecting things. We'll get to that in a minute here. First, real quick, worth noting, Dre'Mont Jones still not practicing. Mike McDonald continues to say that it's minor and not really worth worrying about. And look, Dre'Mont Jones is a veteran. He doesn't necessarily need to be practicing every single session. So I'm not worried about it, but it is worth noting that he missed another practice session. So we'll continue to monitor that, see when he comes back. Now, DJ James also missed practice yesterday, so that's not good. He's a rookie. He needs this practice time. He needs these reps. Now, the good news is we probably aren't going to need him in 2024, so it's not like we need to rush him out there or anything, but he would certainly prefer to be out there. So that's the main injury stuff. I did see a little something about Kenny McIntosh not doing a lot of work, but he was doing some, so it doesn't seem like that's a problem yet, but it is worth monitoring going forward. All right, so the main focus from this training camp session that happened yesterday is kind of embodied by the defense. The defense did much better than they had done in previous days. Julian Love had another interception, his second of training camp. He picked off Geno Smith. It was on a slant route to Metcalf where Geno just didn't see Geno coming down to pick it off. So Julian Love's having a really nice training camp right after signing that extension. And that kind of encapsulated a lot of what we saw in yesterday's session. The defense was beating the offense. And when the weather's bad, that makes sense, right? Rain is supposed to play to the defense's strengths and make it a little bit harder for the offense. The offense has a harder time throwing the ball. The offense has a harder time completing passes. So it makes sense, but it is worth noting because the defense has been mostly behind the offense in these training camp sessions so far. In the one-on-one pass rush drills, I want to call out a few guys here for looking good. Greg Bell has this tweet here. Christian Haynes looked good in the one-on-one pass rush drills. That's really important. Anthony Bradford also looked good, so we're going to have some competition up front. Also, Mike Jarrell looked good in the one-on-one training camps. one-on-one pass rush drills, excuse me. So that's obviously encouraging. Now he's a long way away, and I think we all know it, but still better to hear than him not looking good. Byron Murphy looked good in the one-on-ones. Excuse me. So there was one report, I think this was from a Nemhauser, about how on Murphy's first rep, Anthony Bradford basically just threw him down into the ground, like really dominated the rep. And it was kind of a welcome to the NFL moment for Murphy, but it was also a pretty impressive rep from Anthony Bradford. And Bradford's a guy who I imagine at some point this year, it's going to be very important that we get improvement from him. Last year, he had flashes, but it was not very consistent. And that shouldn't surprise anybody, but he's got to get better. There's a lot of talent in there. It's just got to come out. So, not mentioned here, but I do want to say that Charles Cross supposedly looked the best of anybody during the one-on-one drills. So that's huge for these 2024 Seattle Seahawks. If Charles Cross does not take a big step forward in year number 3 here, then the ceiling on this team goes down significantly, and we're going to be kind of left wondering where we are with a guy like a Charles Cross, who was a top 10 pick and doesn't seem like he's getting better than his rookie season by all that much. Like that's the situation we're going to be finding ourselves in, and we certainly don't want that. But I did hear good things about Charles Cross. Here's Tyler Lockett. This is a Condota here. The defense got the better of the offense on the first day of pads. Again, I think the weather has something to do with that. But at the same time, you can still see the improvement. You can still see the defense realizing that, hey, we need to step it up here. And usually in training camp, the defense is going to be ahead of the offense. So they're probably a little bit wounded from seeing the offense get the best of them so much. So we saw some pretty good pass rush reps from guys like Uchenna Nwosu. Derek Hall supposedly had some good reps as well. I think Jerome Baker had a nice blitz or two. And just overall, the defense showed that they're making strides in important places. One play, however, from the training camp session that was considered by everybody there to be the play of the day and probably the play of training camp came from Jake Bobo. He made an incredible diving catch on a ball that looked badly overthrown from Sam Howell, laid out Superman style to catch a fade route. It was a touchdown. So Bobo continues to make arguments that he needs to get out there on the field. I predicted before the season started that Bobo wouldn't do that much this year because there was too much in front of him. But if he continues to do stuff like this, he's going to force his way out there and find a way to contribute no matter what. So Bobo, beautiful catch. You can find pictures of it all over X. I haven't seen video of it yet, but everybody who saw it says they thought it was basically a throwaway. They thought it was a bad throw, and Bobo found a way to bring it in. Now, the other side of that is that Howell threw in not so great pass because it was overthrown by so much, but at the same time, Howell is learning some of these receivers just put the ball up there. Bobo's going to go get it. He's got great ball skills. We're seeing Aesop Winston go up and get it some as well. We're seeing these guys bail their quarterbacks out and help their quarterbacks out, and if you give them any kind of chance at all, they might go get it. So definitely excited to see that. And look, Bobo's awesome. Bobo's a really fun player, and me predicting that his numbers would drop off a tiny bit this year was not because of any dislike for him. So if he continues to do stuff like this and makes an argument that he needs to be getting 20 snaps a game, of course, I have nothing against that whatsoever. Mike Morris was the only new injury a few minutes before practice ended. He left with a trainer. Might have been a hand injury, might have been an arm injury, wasn't sure. Greg Bell's got this report here, however. So don't know what's going on there, but Mike Morris is going to be an important part of this defense this year, I believe. I think he's going to rotate in quite a bit. So we don't like hearing this, and we hope to hear something better tomorrow. But that's the only injury that I saw that's new. We still have a couple lingering, but in terms of new stuff, Mike Morris left early, and it didn't look too bad as near as I could tell, but it's also far too early to say anything. There was also one moment during yesterday's session where tempers flared between DK Metcalf and Reek Woolen. They got into it. It was pretty quickly broken up. It was pretty quickly ended. but Woolen was kind of getting the best of Metcalf, and Metcalf is somebody who is going to get a little bit heated. And I don't think this kind of stuff is a big deal at all, but I understand that Metcalf being the person that he is, the guy that he is, the player that he is, people are going to look at this and they're going to be reading into it one way or the other about his extracurriculars. And obviously he's got some stuff to overcome in that regard because he is picking up flags, and these flags are hurting the team now. Like, not that they're costing us games single-handedly or anything like that, but we are starting to see Metcalf get penalties that hurt the team and maybe play a non-trivial role in losses that would have been wins otherwise. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Metcalf this year. I've said it before. There is a scenario where by the end of the season, he's kind of on the outs and he ends up getting traded. I don't want that to happen because of how talented he is, but if he can't find a way to harness and control these emotions a little bit, I mean, I'm not going to be the guy that gets really upset about it because I think that football is all about having some guys that are, kind of like enforcers. And I don't think you're going to be able to get that out of the game. And I don't think you should want to get it out of the game. But I do wonder where this goes because I know that some of the fans are much less tolerant of it than I am. Yeah, so Brady Henderson's got this here. Like I said, Charles Cross was the best player on either side of the one-on-one pass rush drills, which is big. One thing from this particular tweet from Brady that I wanted to call out was Darrell Taylor. He had a really nice rep to beat McClendon Curtis. Now, it's McClendon Curtis. It's not even George Fant. It's McClendon Curtis who is facing a little bit of an uphill battle to make the team. But Taylor is definitely a guy who can go one way or the other here. He might not be on the team when the season starts, but there's still something there that maybe could be figured out. Anyway, back to Cross real quick. He did have a strong win over Nwosu, which is something that Henderson calls out here, but overall, Henderson had a really good day, and he looks ready to go, and he continues to kind of advance the belief that he's going to be back to his 2022 form, so encouraged by what I'm seeing here. We got Greg Bell here with an Abe Lucas update. Still out, but rehabbing. You can see him pushing this sled here, trying to work his way back into football shape, trying to get himself ready for week 1. And I mean, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. This matters. And I know people are going to be asking about him. So here he is. He is alive. He is doing stuff. It's just, it's not full football stuff yet. He can't put the pads on. So hoping for better news here at some point, but this is why you signed George Fant. This is why you got George Fant, so got to roll with it. And here's the last thing that caught my attention. This is from Nemhauser, Hawk Blogger. Ryan Grubb has said they are working hard with K9 on his blitz pickup so he can play more on third downs. The video, which auto-played for a couple seconds there, was Ken Walker working against some blitzing linebackers. Like I think there was one from Jerome Baker. I think there was one from Tyrell Dodson, and there are obviously other reps in there as well. So they feel like K9 needs to improve on his ability to pick up blitzes so he can play on third down, which I find to be interesting because I've said before that I look at Zach Charbonnet as a third down back, and while obviously K9 being able to pick up blitzes is better than him not being able to, so it's not like I'm saying there's something wrong here, I do wonder if you can only play each player so much, right? Like, K9's clearly our best running back, and he's a very talented player, but I don't think you need to force him out on the field over and over and over again and end up with a massive imbalance of snaps at the end of the year where K9 doesn't even get to finish the season because of injuries. So I'm looking at something like this and I'm wondering, okay, it's good that he's trying to get better, but at the same time, I don't think he needs to play more on third down because Charbonnet I think he's kind of built to be a third down back. And then I wonder, maybe they see him as more of a power back than a third down back because that's kind of the battle with Charbonnet, right? He's a really good pass catcher. He's a good blocker, so you want to play him on third down, but he is heavier than the average modern running back, and he does run with pop, so maybe he could be a power back. I think he's a better third down back, but I'm interested to see how the team decides to utilize their running backs this season. All right, that's what I saw from yesterday. Let me know what you think. See you guys later. Go Hawks.